When life hits you with storms, setbacks, and silent nights when nothing seems to work, I want you to remember one thing. Don't be defeated. God is greater. Greater than your fear. Greater than your doubts. Greater than every enemy, obstacle, and insecurity trying to break you. You are not fighting alone. You are not standing alone. You are not rising alone. God is with you. And if God is for you, who can be against you? There will be days when you feel tired. Days when the weight is heavy. Days when you question, why me? But in those moments, I want you to pause, breathe, and remind yourself, I am built for this. You are not weak. You are not ass. You are not forgotten. You are God's masterpiece. Life will try to break you, but God will use the breaking to build you. Life will try to close doors, but God will use closed doors to redirect you. Life will try to embarrass you, discourage you, and defeat you. But hear me clearly. God will never let your story end in defeat. Not when he designed you to rise. Not when he destined you to win. Not when he put greatness inside you. Stop letting fear tell you what you can't do. Stop letting pain define your future. Stop letting temporary setbacks make you doubt an eternal God. Your situation is not permanent, but God's promise is. Your struggle is temporary, but God's purpose is permanent. You didn't come this far to quit. You didn't survive everything you survived just to fold. Now there is more in you. There is more ahead of you. There's more God wants to do through you. Stand tall, lift your head, wipe your tear. God didn't bring you this far to leave you. He didn't create you to be defeated. You were created to dominate, to overcome, to rise again and again and again. Don't be defeated. God is greater. God's strength begins where your strength ends. And once you truly understand that, your entire way of facing life changes. Most people try to fight every battle with their own hands, their own logic, and their own energy. They push, they force, they stress, they get frustrated. And when things don't move the way they want, they start thinking something is wrong with them. But what if the problem isn't that you're weak? What if the problem is that you're trying to carry something God never designed you to carry alone? What if the problem is that you keep relying on your own strength while God is waiting for you to finally let him step in? See, human strength has limits. You can only stay awake for so long. You can only push for so long. You can only fight in your own power for so long before you wear out. But God's strength has no limit, no exhaustion, no breaking point. God does not get tired. God does not run out. God does not panic. God does not back down when things get hard. And when your strength ends, when you're on the edge, when you feel like you can't go another step, when you feel like everything is falling apart, that's where his strength begins to show up. Sometimes God lets you come to the end of yourself just so you can finally see him clearly. As long as you believe you can handle everything by yourself, you won't even invite God into the situation. As long as you think your intellect, your talent, your hustle, your connections are enough, you won't call on him. But God loves you too much to let you live life thinking you're doing everything on your own. He will let situations stretch you, test you, push you, and even overwhelm you. Not to break you, but to break your dependence on your own strength. Because relying only on yourself is the quickest way to burn out. Relying on God is the only way to break through. Think about all the moments in your life when you felt weak, tired, discouraged, or defeated. You survived them not because you were strong, or because God stepped in when you couldn't take another step. You may not have noticed it, you may not have recognized it, but the moments you thought were coincidences were God carrying you. The times you felt like the end was near, but somehow you made it through, that was God renewing you. The moments when everything should have fallen apart but did, that was God holding you together. You are not standing today because you're powerful. You're standing because God's power sustained you. If it was up to your strength alone, you would have quit long ago. You would have collapsed under the pressure. You would have folded under the weight. You would have given up when life got heavy. But God's strength stepped in right when you were about to break. He lifted you. He protected you. He guided you. Even when you lost faith in yourself, he never lost faith in you. And this is the truth you must hold on to. The point where you feel empty is the exact point where God begins to pour into you. The moment you stop fighting alone is the moment you start winning with him. God does not fight beside you. He fights for you. He does not help you carry the load. He takes the load. He does not strengthen you only when you are strong. He strengthens you when you are weak, when you are weak, when you are exhausted, when you are questioning everything, when you feel like you're drowning. Some of the greatest blessings in your life will come from moments where you had no strength left. You will look back one day and say, I don't know how I made it through that year, that season, that heartbreak, that sickness, that financial struggle, that loss, that confusion. And the answer will be simple. You didn't make it through. God carried you through it. That's why you didn't collapse. That's why you didn't lose your mind. That's why you didn't stay broken. That's why you didn't get destroyed. Your strength ran out, but his did. God's strength is not just greater. It is perfect. Perfect in timing. Perfect in power. Perfect in purpose. When you are weak, you are not at a disadvantage. You're actually in the perfect position for God to work because your weakness creates space for his greatness. Your emptiness creates room for his fullness. Your struggle becomes a stage where his power is revealed. You have to stop thinking weakness is failure. Weakness is human. Weakness is natural. Weakness is allowed. God never asked you to be invincible. He asked you to trust him. He never asked you to have all the answers. He asked you to have faith. He never asked you to carry every burden. He asked you to cast your burdens on him. Your strength is not what gets you to your destiny. Your surrender is. You win in life not because you're stronger than everybody else, but because God is stronger than everything that comes against you. You don't overcome because you are fearless. You overcome because God stands beside you. You don't rise because your power is extraordinary. You rise because his power is unmatched. Every giant that looked bigger than you was smaller than God. Every mountain that felt impossible to climb was nothing to him. Every storm that felt like it would drown you was completely under his control. When you stop trying to do everything by yourself, you tap into a different level of strength, a divine strength, a supernatural strength, a strength that breaks chains, opens doors, heals wounds, renews your mind, restores your heart, and lifts you beyond anything you believed you could carry. That's the strength God gives. That's the strength that shows up when your strength ends. And the truth is, sometimes God will wait until your strength is gone, because if he steps in too early, you'll still think you did. You'll still think it was your talent, your hustle, your effort, your intelligence. But when he steps in at the very moment you're at the edge, you will know without a doubt that it was him. You will know that the victory was divine. You will know that the breakthrough came from God's hand. Because he wants you to trust him, not your ability. He wants you to lean on him, not your plan. He wants you to walk by faith, not sight. So when you feel tired, don't panic. When you feel weak, don't quit. When you feel overwhelmed, don't break. Those feelings are not signs that you're losing. Those are signs that God is about to step in. Those moments signal transition. Those moments signal elevation. Those moments signal spiritual reinforcement. Let the world see your strength in, because that's when God's strength becomes visible. Let people underestimate you, because that's when God shows them what happens when he is your source. Let challenges rise because God rises higher. Let storms come because God commands every wave. Let battle start because God never loses a battle. You don't have to be strong all the time. You just have to stay connected to the one who is always strong. You don't have to know how everything will work out. You just have to trust the one who already knows the final chapter of your story. You don't have to fight alone. You don't have to carry everything. You don't have to pretend you're invincible. God's strength is enough. God's strength is greater. God's strength is your source, your shield, your anchor, your fuel, your victory. And when your strength ends, celebrate, because that is the beginning of God showing you who he really is. The one who lifts you when you can't lift yourself. The one who fights for you when your hands are tired. The one who pushes you forward when your feet feel heavy. The one who whispers keep going when your mind says I can't. The one who makes a way when you can't even see a path. God's strength begins where yours ends. And as long as you trust him, you will never be defeated. Setbacks are not signs that you are unworthy, incapable, or abandoned. They are not proof that God has forgotten you or that your life is going in the wrong direction. In fact, most of the time, the very things that look like setbacks are actually divine setups, strategic, intentional, perfectly timed steps in the process of your growth, refinement, and elevation. But when you're in the middle of the setback, it doesn't feel like a setup. It feels like loss. It feels like disappointment. It feels like life shutting doors in your face. It feels like God is silent. And in that silence, your mind starts to question everything. But what you don't see yet is that the delay is not denial. The disappointment is not destruction. The closed door is not rejection. It is redirection, protection, preparation, and positioning. You're not going backward. You're being moved into alignment. You have to understand something. God sees what you cannot see. He hears conversations you don't hear. He knows dangers you know nothing about. He understands the timing that is perfect for your breakthrough. And because of that, he will sometimes block something you wanted. Not because it was bad, but because it wasn't best. He will let something fall apart. Not because you weren't good enough, but because it wasn't built strong enough to carry your destiny. He will allow a path to close because if you stayed on it, it would have taken you away from where he intends to position you. But in the moment, all you see is the setback. All you feel is the frustration. All you notice is what didn't work out. And that's okay because you're human. You're allowed to feel the sting, the confusion, and the weight of the setback. But after you feel it, you must step back and remind yourself, God is strategic. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is accidental. If God allowed the setback, it means he's setting up something bigger, something better, something you were not ready for yet. Every great story has a moment where everything seems to fall apart. Every champion has a season where nothing goes as planned. Every breakthrough comes after a period of breakdown. Setbacks are the training ground where resilience is built, faith is strengthened, and character is refined. A person who has never been tested cannot be trusted with greatness. A person who has never tasted failure cannot handle success. A person who has never been knocked down cannot truly appreciate the power of standing again. So when life pushes you back, don't let that convince you that you're moving in the wrong direction. Sometimes God pulls you back the same way a bowstring is pulled back, not to keep you stuck, but to launch you further than you could ever imagine. The tension, the pressure, the discomfort, they are part of the launch. They are part of the blessing. They are part of the story. There are doors you prayed for that didn't open because God has a better door waiting. There are people who walked away because they couldn't go where God is taking you. There are opportunities that slip through your fingers because God is preparing you for something bigger, something that requires a stronger version of you. God will never allow you to experience a loss without preparing a gain. He will never remove something without planning a replacement. His endings are always preparation for new beginnings. Think about the setbacks in your life that once crushed you. Think about the times you cried, questioned, or felt defeated. Now look at where you are. Look at how those very setbacks made you stronger, wiser, more determined, more grounded. Look at how certain disappointments led you to blessing you never expected. Look at how certain losses opened your eyes to truths you needed to see. Look at how certain delays protected you, shaped you, and pushed you into places you never would have reached on your own. If you are facing a setback right now, don't panic. Don't let fear convince you that this is the end. Don't let discouragement make you think God has abandoned you. God is not punishing you. He is preparing you. He's not withholding from you. He's aligning you. He's not taking you backwards. He's setting you up to rise. Your setback is giving you discipline. Your setback is teaching you patience. Your setback is revealing who is for you and who is against you. Your setback is strengthening your spirit. Your setback is sharpening your wisdom. Your setback is training you for what you prayed for. You cannot skip the process. You cannot bypass the preparation. Elevation without preparation is destruction. God loves you too much to allow you to step into something you're not yet ready to carry. Sometimes the very thing you call a setback is the thing God calls protection. The job you didn't get could have drained your happiness. The person who left could have destroyed your peace. The opportunity that didn't happen could have derailed your purpose. The closed door could be the only reason you are still standing. The moment you start seeing setbacks through God's perspective, your entire life will transform. There are blessings hidden inside your disappointments. There are miracles hidden inside your delays. There is purpose hidden inside your pain. Sometimes a blessing isn't what God gives. It's what he prevents. Sometimes a miracle isn't in what he opens. It's in what he closes. Sometimes the answered prayer isn't receiving. It's being redirected. Your job is not to understand everything. Your job is to trust. Trust that God sees the full picture. Trust that he knows the perfect path. Trust that he loves you enough to remove what is not meant for you. Trust that every setback is a setup for something greater. Trust that he is working behind the scenes, even when you can't see it, feel it, or understand it. You are not waiting for God to move. God is preparing things for you at this very moment. He is aligning people, shifting circumstances, opening paths, blocking traps, and shaping opportunities with your name on them. Your setback is not punishment, it's preparation. It's refinement, it's repositioning. It is God pulling you closer to the destiny he has written for you long before you were born. So stand firm. Hold your faith. Don't fold. Don't quit. Don't break under the pressure. God is using every moment, every tear, every delay, every disappointment for your good. You will look back and realize a setback was not the end. It was the turning point. The very thing that felt like it was holding you back was actually launching you forward. The very thing that felt like a closed door was the opening you needed. The very thing that felt like defeat was the foundation for your comeback. Every setback is a divine setup. And the God who allowed it is the same God who will bring you through it, stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the greatness he designed for you. Faith is your greatest weapon, not because it makes life easy, but because it gives you the strength to endure what others cannot. Faith does not remove obstacles. It helps you rise above them. Faith does not eliminate fear. It gives you the courage to walk through fear. Faith does not promise a life without storms. It equips you to stand firm in the middle of those storms. And when your vision is blurry, when you can't see the way forward, when everything around you looks uncertain, when your plan is falling apart and your path is unclear, your belief becomes the compass that guides you. Faith becomes a light in the darkness, the anchor in the chaos, the voice that whispers a keep going when everything else screams a give up. Faith is not about understanding. It's about trusting. It's believing that even when you cannot see God's hand, you can trust his heart. It's believing that even when nothing makes sense, purpose is still unfolding. It's believing that even when the plan changes, the promise doesn't. And the truth is, God will often move in ways that confuse you before he moves in ways that bless you. He will allow moments that test your faith before he reveals moments that reward it. Because faith that's never tested is faith that cannot be trusted. When your vision is clear, when everything is going your way, when life feels predictable, when doors open easily, when it doesn't take much faith to keep moving. But when your vision is blurry, when you're walking through uncertainty, when you can only see one step at a time, when you don't know what tomorrow holds, that's where real faith is built. It's easy to trust God on the mountains and top. Real faith is built in the valley. Real faith is built in the silence, in the confusion, in the waiting seasons where you feel forgotten, but are actually being prepared. Faith is your weapon because it changes the battle, not by changing your situation, but by changing you. It strengthens your mind. It calms your spirit. It focuses your heart. Faith allows you to stand tall in situations that should have broken you. It allows you to keep moving when everyone else would have quit. It allows you to believe for more even when you have less. Faith gives you the confidence to say, I don't see it yet, but I know God is working. It gives you the power to walk forward, even when you don't know where the path leads. Sometimes God will blur your vision on purpose, not to confuse you, but to shift your reliance. As long as you can see the whole picture, you will depend on your understanding. As long as you can predict the path, you will depend on your logic. As long as life feels under control, you will depend on your own strength. But when the vision becomes blurry, when the path becomes uncertain, when the future becomes unpredictable, that's when God invites you to depend on him fully. That's where faith becomes greater than sight. Faith is the difference between panic and peace. Two people can face the same storm. One collapses in fear. The other stands firm. The storm didn't change. The difference was faith. Faith is what allows you to sleep during the storm. Faith is what allows you to say, it will work out even when you don't know how. And faith is what allows you to keep sowing seeds even when you don't see a harvest yet. Faith is what allows you to walk into rooms you feel unqualified for. Faith is what allows you to start again after failure, rise again after pain, and hope again after heartbreak. Faith will always be challenged right before it is rewarded. The moment you feel like quitting is often the moment just before breakthrough. The moment everything looks darkest is often the moment right before dawn. Faith fights for the future that fear. Faith protects the promise that doubt tries to destroy. Faith keeps you moving when your strength is gone, when your motivation is low, when your heart feels heavy. Faith reminds you that God didn't bring you this far just to leave you here. People often ask for signs, clarity, and answers, but what they truly need is faith. Signs can be misunderstood. Clarity can be temporary. Answers can be incomplete. But faith is unshakable. Faith stays when everything else changes. Faith stands when the ground beneath you feels unstable. Faith speaks life when circumstances speak death. And the enemy is not fighting your finances, your relationships, or your circumstances. He is fighting your faith. Your faith, because he knows if he can take your faith, he can take your fight. He knows if he can weaken your belief, he can weaken your purpose. He knows if he can blur your trust, he can blur your destiny. Faith is powerful because it sees the invisible, it hears the inaudible, it believes the impossible. Faith tells you that mountains can move, that giants can fall, that chains can break, that storms can calm, that the impossible can become possible. Faith doesn't ignore reality. It elevates you above reality. It shifts your focus from what is happening around you to what God is doing within you. When your vision is blurry, faith fills the gap. When your understanding fails, faith takes over. When the path is uncertain, faith becomes your navigation. And the truth is, blurry seasons are not the worst seasons. They are the building seasons. They are the seasons where God asks you to trust him more deeply, lean on him more consistently, and follow him more courageously. In clarity, you walk by sight. In confusion, you walk by faith. And walking by faith is the highest form of trust. Faith will lead you where logic refuses to go. Logic will tell you to quit. Faith will tell you to rise. Logic will tell you it's too late. Faith will tell you God can do in one moment what you couldn't do in years. Logic will tell you to fear. Faith will tell you to fight. Logic sees obstacles. Faith sees opportunity. Logic says, I come. Faith says that God can. And when you start living by faith, you stop being defeated by things that used to crush you. Faith is not passive. It is a force. Faith speaks. Faith commands. Faith declares. Faith stands. Fight fights. Faith holds on even with trembling hands. Faith says, I don't know the how, but I know the who. Faith says, a situation looks impossible, but my God specializes in the impossible. Faith said, my vision may be blurry, but my belief is clear. When you hold on to faith, you are holding on to the very power that has carried generations before you through wars, storms, famines, heartbreaks, losses, and victories. Faith is what turns weakness into strength, fear into courage, doubt into determination. Faith is what keeps you alive inside even when everything around you feels dead. Faith is what revives your spirit, renews your hope, and restores your focus. Faith gives you spiritual vision that no obstacle can blind. So when your vision is blurry, when you don't understand the season you're in, when you can't see the results yet, when you feel lost or uncertain, that is not the time to give up. That is the time to lean in. Lean into God. Lean into prayer. Lean into patience. Lean into belief. Because blurry seasons are temporary, but the faith you build in them lasts forever. You have to trust that God knows what he's doing even when you don't. You have to trust that he's leading you even when you can't see the path. You have to trust that his timing is perfect even when it feels slow. You have to trust that his plan is greater than your fear, greater than your doubt, greater than your worry. Faith is your greatest weapon because with it, you can walk into any battle knowing you're not alone. With it, you can face any challenge knowing victory is possible. With it, you can rise from any fall, recover from any loss, overcome any setback, and believe again after any disappointment. With it, you can keep going even when the path is unclear because faith doesn't require sight, it requires trust. And when your vision is blurry, when you feel lost or uncertain, remember, blurry seasons do not block God's plan. They reveal your faith. And your faith is more powerful than anything that comes against you. Sometimes in life, God will start removing people, habits, and opportunities from your path. And in the moment, it feels confusing. It feels painful. It feels like loss. You start questioning what you did wrong, why things are falling apart, why people are acting differently, why certain doors suddenly close. But what you must realize is that not every removal is rejection. Some removals are divine protection. Some removals are God saying, I love you too much to let this continue. Sometimes the very thing you are trying to hold on to is the very thing God is trying to remove because it cannot go where he is taking you next. You might not understand it now, but later you will look back and realize that God saved you by taking it away. There are people you thought would be in your life forever. People you trusted, invested in, or built dreams with, and suddenly they shift, they change, they distance themselves. They betray your trust. They disappear without an explanation. And while that hurts deeply, God saw what you couldn't see. He heard conversations you didn't hear. He observed intentions that were hidden from you. He knew the truth behind the smiles, the motives behind the actions, and the future consequences of presence in your life. When God removes someone, it is not because he wants you lonely. It is because he wants you protected. You didn't lose them. You were saved from them. You might feel like God is stripping everything away, but in reality, he is clearing the path. You might feel like you're being pushed into isolation, but really you're being prepared. Separation often comes before elevation. Before God puts you in a higher place, he removes anything that will pull you down. Before he takes you into your next level, he removes the weight that cannot be carried upward. You cannot bring every habit, every relationship, every mindset, every behavior into your future. Some things must die so something greater can live. Think about how many times you prayed for strength, clarity, peace, and progress. Then suddenly certain people left your life. Suddenly certain habits no longer felt satisfying. Suddenly or slowly certain opportunities slipped away. You assumed it was lost, but it was actually the answer to your prayer. You asked for growth, God removed what was stopping it. You asked for peace, God removed what was disturbing it. You asked for clarity, God removed what was blinding you. You asked for better, God removed what wasn't good enough. Sometimes you don't recognize the blessing because it showed up as a breakup, a rejection, a setback, or a closed door. But blessings don't always come easy. Sometimes they come disguised as endings. Habits can also be removed by God because some of the things you're used to, your comfort zones, your repetitive cycles, your destructive tendency are blocking your destiny. You cannot step into your calling with old habits that were built out of fear, insecurity, or survival. God will push you out of comfort to grow you. He will convict you gently or strongly until you let go of behaviors that are harming you. You may resist the change at first because the old habit feels familiar, but eventually God will make staying the same more uncomfortable than changing. He will tug at your spirit until you release what you once depended on. He will make you outgrow things that used to feel normal and opportunities. This is where people struggle the most. When you lose an opportunity you wanted, you feel like God is punishing you or ignoring your prayers. But what you don't see is that not every opportunity is good for your spirit. Not every offer is aligned with your purpose. Not every platform is meant for you. Not every open door leads to blessing. Some open doors are traps. Some opportunities look like elevation, but are actually distractions. Some chances would have brought stress, conflict, confusion, or compromise. God sees the future consequences of what you think you won. When he closes a door, it is not rejection. It is redirection towards something better, something safer, something more aligned with who you're becoming. You must learn to trust as much as the blessings. Trust the losses just as much as the gains. Trust the silence just as much as the answer. Trust the pruning just as much as the harvest. When God cuts people, habits, or opportunities out of your life, he is pruning you, preparing you to bear more fruit. Pruning feels painful, but it is necessary. You cannot grow without cutting. You cannot rise without releasing. You cannot step into your destiny while holding on to what belongs to your past. Sometimes you keep begging God to restore something he is trying to protect you from. You keep praying for the return of someone who was destroying your peace. You keep asking for a door to open that would have broken your spirit. You keep holding on to habits that are killing your potential. And God is gently saying, oh no, let it go. This is not for you. That no is love. That no is protection. That my God seeing the whole picture. That no is a blessing. One day you will look back and thank God for every person he removed. You will thank him for blocking that opportunity. You will thank him for closing that door. You will thank him for stripping that habit out of your life. You will say, God, I didn't understand then, but now I see why you did it. There are seasons when God will isolate you on purpose, not because he wants you lonely, but because he wants you focused. He wants your ears tuned to his voice without distraction. He wants your character refined without interference. He wants your spirit strengthened without temptation. Isolation in God's hands is preparation, not punishment. In these seasons, don't fight what God is removing. Don't chase what God detached. Don't resurrect what God buried. Don't cling to what God released. Let go knowing that God doesn't take without giving. He doesn't subtract without adding. He doesn't pull away without preparing something greater. And you must understand this. Elevation requires separation. If you want to rise, you must let go of what keeps you grounded. If you want peace, you must let go of what creates chaos. If you want purpose, you must let go of distractions. If you want blessings, you must let go of burdens. If you want alignment, you must let go of contradiction. The truth is, what God removes is never essential to your destiny. If it was required for your purpose, God would not take it away. If it was meant to stay, it would not leave. Nothing God removes is a loss. It is a lesson. Nothing God removes is a setback. It is alignment. Nothing God removes is empty. It is making space for what is coming. Your future is too important. Your purpose is too great. Your calling is too powerful. And that's why God is removing what cannot go with you. That's why God is shaking your life. That's why he's shifting your relationships. That's why he's challenging your habits. That's why he's closing specific doors. He is preparing you for something higher, something bigger, something more aligned with his plan. Trust every removal. Trust every separation. Trust every ending. Trust that God is working even in the loss. Because when God removes something, it is never to break you, but to build you, protect you, strengthen you, and position you for the greatness he has already written for your life. When you reach a point in your life where the weight feels unbearable, when the pressure in your chest feels like it might crush you from the inside, that is when you discover what you're truly made of. There are moments when it seems like you've given everything, your energy, your tears, your effort, and still the situation refuses to move. You pray, you push, you work, and yet the mountain stands still. In those moments, you begin questioning yourself, doubting your strength, doubting your purpose. But what you don't realize is that these moments are not designed to destroy you. They are designed to deepen you. That's where resilience is born. That's where the spirit is refined. That's where you learn that defeat is not your destiny. Growth is. Because the truth is this, the battle is never just about what you're facing externally. The battle is also about what God is trying to develop internally. And sometimes the pain you feel is the pressure required to stretch you into a version of yourself that can handle the blessing ahead. You may not see it now, but you are being equipped. You are being sharpened. You are being toughened for the next season. When life hits you, when challenges feel like they're stacking one after another, when the enemy whispers, you're done, you need to rise up with the spirit that says, I am not defeated. I am not broken. I am not abandoned. I am being prepared. Every trial is shaping your foundation, strengthening the roots beneath the surface. Resilience isn't something you discover when life is comfortable. You don't learn endurance by walking through a garden. You learn endurance by surviving through storms. You learn resilience by standing when everything in you wants to collapse. You learn resilience when you drag yourself forward, even when your body screams to give up. Resilience is what grows in the soil of struggle, watered by your tears, soaked by your faith. It is the decision to say, even if the situation doesn't change today, I will not bow to despair. I will not surrender this battle. I will not let the weight crush me. I will keep moving. I will keep believing, and I will keep trusting. But understand something deep. Resilience is not pretending you're okay. It's not suppressing your emotions or denying your pain. It's feeling everything but refusing to let anything stop you. It's waking up broken but still choosing to fight. It's crying on your way but still walking forward. It's acknowledging the burden but not accepting defeat. Because every time you choose to rise instead of stay down, you strengthen a muscle within you that can't be built any other way. Every setback becomes a rep in the gym of your soul. Every challenge becomes a chance to grow. Every disappointment becomes an invitation to develop discipline. Resilience is not a gift, it's a decision. And sometimes resilience means getting up again after you fail. Again, you didn't get the job, but you try again. You lost the relationship, but you heal and open your heart again. You were betrayed, but you learn to trust again. You stumbled spiritually, mentally, emotionally, but you stand up again. That's resilience, refusing to let the last chapter dictate the next. You are not the failure you experienced. You are not the mistake you made. You are not the heartbreak you endured. You are the person who got back up. You are the person who refused to stay down. You are the person who walked forward even when you could have stayed in the valley. Resilience also means understanding that setbacks do not erase your calling. Delays do not cancel your purpose. Loss does not silence your identity. Failure does not diminish your value. You are still chosen. You are still worthy. You are still loved. You are still equipped. You are still anointed for what God placed inside you. You see, sometimes God allows challenges not to punish you, but to reposition you, to test your character, to refine your motives, to raise your standards, to force you to depend on Him more deeply. Resilience grows when you stop asking, "Oh, why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "Well, what is this building within me?" Because there are levels you cannot reach without resistance. There's wisdom you cannot gain without hardship. There is strength you cannot develop without pain. There is faith you cannot unlock without struggle. There is maturity you cannot achieve without being stretched beyond your comfort zone. God will sometimes pull you out of one season and place you in a harder one simply because He knows the greatness He planned inside. You require stronger roots. And roots only grow deep when the winds become strong. Resilience also demands that you stop giving temporary moments permanent power. Just because you're in a storm now doesn't mean your whole life is a storm. Just because you feel lost today doesn't mean you're lost forever. Just because you're hurting right now doesn't mean healing isn't coming. Your present pain is not your permanent identity. This is a chapter. It is not the whole story. And you have to remind yourself daily, this moment will not define me. This setback will not break me. This challenge will not control me. Speak life to yourself. Speak strength into your spirit. Speak courage into your mind. Speak hope into your future. You must also understand that resilience is not built alone. Even the strongest people need support. Even warriors need rest. Even fighters need encouragement. Sometimes resilience means allowing others to help you. It means being honest about your weaknesses, your fears, your struggles. It means letting God place the right people in your life to strengthen you. Nobody succeeds alone. Nobody grows alone. Sometimes the biggest act of resilience is not holding everything together, but admitting you need help and accepting it. But above all, resilience is rooted in faith. It is believing that God is working even when you can't see progress. It is trusting that God is moving even when you feel stuck. It is knowing that God is protecting you even when danger surrounds you. It is holding on to promise when everything in your environment tells you to let go. Resilience is spiritual. It is a refusal to accept defeat because you know who walks with you, who covers you, who strengthens you. It is the bold declaration that no matter what comes, no matter what breaks, no matter what shakes, you are still standing because God is inside you, beside you, and ahead of you. You are not defined by what tried to destroy you. You are defined by what you overcame. You are defined by the fire you walked through and survived. You are defined by the strength that rose from the ass. Your resilience is evidence of God's hand on your life. Every time you endured what should have broken you, you prove that there's a purpose in you greater than the pain around you. And as long as you keep pushing, keep believing, and keep trusting, your story is not over. Your resilience is the bridge that's carrying you from where you are to where you're destined to be. There are moments in life when the silence feels louder than any storm, when you look around and it feels like everyone else is moving forward while you are standing still, stuck between where you were and where you want to be. It's in those moments that doubt begins whispering in your ear, telling you that you're not enough, that you failed, that you've been forgotten. You start questioning everything, your strength, your faith, your decisions, your purpose. But what you don't realize is that this exact place, this uncomfortable middle, is the birthplace of spiritual transformation. It is in these seasons of uncertainty that God shapes you, molds you, and prepares you for what is coming next. And even though you can't see it, something is happening beneath the surface. God is working in ways your eyes can't perceive yet. orchestrating breakthroughs, aligning opportunities, and strengthening you internally for doors you haven't reached. Sometimes God will pull you away from everything familiar because growth cannot happen in the same environment that kept you comfortable. You may not understand why relationships ended, why plans collapsed, why support disappeared, or why certain people walked away. But God does. He removes what would have limited you. He takes away what would have distracted you. He shuts doors that would have taken you down the wrong path. And often it's only after the dust settles that you realize those losses were actually protection. That distance was direction. That breakup was redirection. That disappointment was preparation. God is not punishing you. He is positioning you. There are times when God will allow you to go through isolation because isolation is where he speaks the loudest. The people you depended on may no longer be available. The voices you used to lean on may grow silent. The support you once relied on may fade. Not because you are alone, but because there are lessons God wants to teach you directly. There are truths he wants you to hear without interference. There is strength he wants to build within you that can't be developed if you're constantly leaning on others. God will remove every unnecessary voice so you can finally hear his. And when you hear, you will realize he never left you. Not for 1 second. You may feel overlooked in this season. You may feel like others are being blessed while you remain stuck. But what looks like stagnation is often divine incubation. A seed sits underground for a long time before it ever breaks through the soil. Nobody sees its growth. Nobody applauds its development. Nobody celebrates its progress. But eventually that hidden growth becomes visible. And when it does, it reveals that something powerful was happening all along. You are being developed in the dark. You are being strengthened in silence. God is building roots before he reveals the fruit. You cannot skip the root stage. Many people want the blessing, the elevation, the breakthrough, but they don't want the preparation. They want the platform, but not the process. They want the reward, but not the refinement. But God is too wise to give you what you're not ready to carry. He will not elevate you into a place where your character cannot sustain you. He will not hand you blessings that your maturity cannot manage. He will not open doors that your discipline cannot keep you in. His preparation may feel painful, but it is purposeful. He is not delaying you. He is developing you. And sometimes development comes through pressure. Diamonds are formed under intense heat. Gold is refined through fire. Muscles grow through resistance. Faith grows through trials. Courage grows through adversity. Strength grows through struggle. If you feel pressure right now, it is not a sign that you are breaking. It is a sign that God is forming something valuable in you. The weight you feel is shaping you, not crushing you. The struggle you face is equipping you, not ending you. The pain you carry is building you, not defeating you. You are in the hands of a master craftsman, and he knows exactly how much pressure to apply to shape you without destroying you. But here's the challenge. During these seasons of stretching and testing, your mind becomes the battlefield. That's where the enemy tries to defeat you, long before circumstances ever could. If he can make you doubt, he can make you quit. If he can make you fear, he can make you retreat. If he can make you feel unworthy, he can make you settle. That is why guarding your mind becomes essential. You cannot allow every thought to take root. You cannot let fear drive your decisions. You cannot let insecurity dictate your potential. You cannot let negativity shape your identity. You have to decide. I will not let my mind destroy what my spirit was designed to overcome. One of the most powerful things you can do in this season is to declare truth even when you don't feel it. When you feel weak, declare strength. When you feel afraid, declare courage. When you feel broken, declare healing. When you feel lost, declare direction. When you feel overlooked, declare purpose. When you feel defeated, declare victory. Because what you speak influences what you believe, and what you believe influences how you fight. Your words become weapons. Your faith becomes armor. Your mindset becomes a shield. You have to train your spirit to speak life even when life feels heavy. But resilience is not the only thing God is building in you. He is also building trust. Real trust is not formed when everything is going well. Real trust is formed when everything is uncertain. When you say, God, I don't understand this season, but I trust you anyway. When you say, God, this hurts, but I believe you have a plan. When you say, oh God, this setback is painful, but I know you're still in control. Trust is choosing God's promises even when you don't see his hand. It's believing that he's working even when life looks like it's falling apart. It's knowing that he is good even when circumstances are not. There will be moments when trust feels like the hardest thing in the world. You will question why certain things happen, why certain doors closed, why certain people hurt you, why certain battles keep returning. But trust is not blind. It is built on evidence. Look back at your life. Look back at what you survived. Look back at the nights you cried but made it through anyway. Look back at the storms you thought would destroy you but somehow did. Look back at the moments you felt hopeless but found strength you didn't know you had. Look back at the doors that shut only for better ones to open. Look at the things you once prayed for that are now part of your normal life. Every one of those moments is proof that God has been faithful. And if he was faithful, then he is faithful now. If he carried you before, he will carry you again. God does not abandon his children. He does not walk away when things get hard. He does not disappear when life becomes heavy. He is with you in every valley, every storm, every trial, every tear. You may not always feel him, but feelings are not facts. His presence is constant. His love is unchanging. His power is limitless. His timing is perfect. And his plan is greater than anything you could imagine. So don't mistake this season of stretching for a season of defeat. You are not falling apart. You are being rebuilt. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not being forgotten. You are not being favored. You are not being pushed down. You are being lifted spiritually. Everything you're going through is part of a process designed to bring you into the person you were created to be. You may be in the middle of the story, but the middle is not the end. God finishes what he starts. One day you will look back on this exact season and say, that's where God strengthened me. That's where God matured me. That's where God taught me to trust him. That's where God built my character. That's where God transformed me. You will realize that what felt like the hardest chapter was actually the most necessary one. Because without this chapter, you wouldn't become who you're destined to become. Keep on, keep believing. Keep believing. Keep trusting. This season is not your defeat. It is your development. And when God is developing you, the outcome is always greater than the struggle. There comes a time in every journey where the weight of what you're carrying feels too heavy to lift, where the road ahead looks too long to walk, and where the voice inside you begins to whisper, maybe this is it. Maybe this is where you stop. Maybe this is where you settle. And at that moment, you don't just feel tired. You feel spiritually exhausted. You feel emotionally drained. You feel mentally worn down. You feel like you've been fighting the same battles over and over again with no sign of victory. But what you need to understand is that the enemy's greatest weapon is not the challenge itself. It's the exhaustion that comes from carrying it. Because fatigue creates vulnerability. Weariness weakens your grip on faith. Tiredness makes you question what you once believed with confidence. When you are drained, you start doubting the very promises you used to stand on. But here's the truth that transforms everything. Your strength was never meant to come from your own power. Your endurance was never meant to come from your own will. Your courage was never meant to depend on your own ability. God never asked you to fight this battle alone. He never expected you to keep going by your own strength. He never intended for you to carry burdens he designed to carry himself. The moment you stop depending solely on your own energy and begin depending on him, that is the moment you step into a level of strength you didn't know existed. Sometimes the exhaustion you feel is not a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that you've been trying to play God in your own life. It's a sign that you've been trying to control what he asked you to surrender. It's a sign that you've been holding on to something he asked you to release. The weight you're carrying may not be from the battle. It may be from the grip. You're holding too tightly to a situation he told you to trust him. You're holding on to fear when he asked you to hold on to faith. You're trying to fix people only God can change. You're trying to open doors only God can unlock. You're trying to force outcomes only God. You're trying to force outcomes only God can orchestrate. You weren't created to carry everything. You were created to surrender everything. And surrender is not giving up. It's letting God step in. It's saying to God, I don't have enough strength, but I know you do. I don't have the answers, but I know you do. I don't see the way, but I know you do. Surrender doesn't weaken you, it strengthens you because it shifts the battle from your hands to God's. And when God fights for you, victory is already written. But many people struggle with surrender because surrender requires trust. Trust requires vulnerability. Vulnerability requires honesty. And honesty requires you to admit that you're tired, that you're hurting, that you're frustrated, that you're unsure, that you're afraid. Too often we try to pretend we're stronger than we are. We act like nothing affects us. We try to hold everything together on our own. But God cannot heal what you hide. He cannot renew what you pretend doesn't need renewing. He cannot restore what you refuse to reveal. Real strength begins the moment you say, "God, I need you." Those three words open doors no human strength can open. There's something powerful about coming to the end of yourself, because when you reach the end of your strength, you reach the beginning of God's. When you come to the end of your understanding, you step into his wisdom. When your plans fail, his plans rise. When your abilities fall short, his abilities take over. The end of your power is not a dead, it's a divine beginning. God does his best work when you finally stop trying to do his job. Too often we interpret exhaustion as a sign of failure. We think, if I were stronger, I wouldn't feel this way. If I had more faith, I wouldn't be tired. If I trusted God more, I wouldn't feel overwhelmed. But exhaustion isn't a lack of faith. Exhaustion is a reminder that you are human. It is a reminder that you are limited. It is a reminder that you cannot do everything. And it is a reminder that God can. The exhaustion is not meant to defeat you. It's meant to push you toward him. It's meant to bring you closer. It's meant to shift your dependence. When you rely on God's strength instead of your own, something miraculous happens. You start seeing possibilities where you once saw barriers. You start feeling hope where you once felt despair. You start finding clarity where confusion once lived. You start walking with confidence even when the path is unclear. Because when God strengthens you, it's not just for the moment, it's for the journey. He doesn't give you enough strength to survive a day. He gives you strength to rise, to move, to endure, overcome. God's strength is not like human strength runs out. Human strength gets tired. Human strength breaks under pressure. But God's strength is endless. God's strength is constant. God's strength is supernatural. God's strength fills every place where your strength fails. That's why scripture says his power is made perfect in weakness, not in confidence, not in pride, not in self-reliance, but in weakness, in the places where you feel most fragile. But relying on God's strength also requires you to release control. And releasing control is one of the hardest things for a human heart to do. We want to know the plan. We want to understand the timeline. We want to see the outcome. But God often gives direction without explanation. He asks for trust without detail. He asks for obedience without full clarity. Not to frustrate you, but to strengthen your faith. Because real faith is not believing when everything makes sense. Real faith is believing when nothing makes sense. Real faith is saying, God, I don't see what you're doing, but I trust that you're doing something. There will be seasons where God won't move the mountain, but he'll strengthen you to climb it. There will be battles he doesn't remove, but he'll empower you to defeat them. There will be storms he doesn't calm immediately, but he'll give you peace in the middle of them. His strength doesn't always change your situation immediately, but it will always change you. And once God strengthens you, you begin to realize something powerful. The battle wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to build you. Every challenge was forming discipline. Every disappointment was building resilience. Every setback was sharpening your spirit. Every tear watered the ground for future growth. Nothing was wasted. Everything was working for your good. When God strengthens you, you stop running from battles and start facing them with confidence. You stop fearing the unknown and start trusting the unseen. You stop doubting your purpose and start walking in it boldly. You stop depending on temporary sources, stop depending on the eternal one. You become unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because God carries you through what once crushed you. The truth is, when you try to walk in your own strength, life becomes unbearable. But when you walk in God's strength, even what once overwhelmed you becomes manageable. What once scared you becomes conquerable. What once felt impossible becomes achievable. Because you are no longer walking alone. You are walking with a God who does not grow weary, who does not faint, who does not fail, who does not fear. So if you feel weak right now, don't hide it. If you feel exhausted, don't suppress it. If you feel overwhelmed, don't ignore it. Bring it to God. Lay it at his feet. Give him the weight. Give him the battle. Give him the fear. Give him the burden. Because the moment you release it is the moment he replaces it with peace, with strength, with clarity, with resilience, with hope. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to pretend everything is fine. You don't have to carry the world on your shoulder. You don't have to fight every battle by yourself. You have a God who steps in when you step back. You have a God who strengthens you when you surrender. You have a God who lifts you when you can't lift yourself. And when his strength becomes your strength, defeat becomes impossible. You may feel drained today, but you are not done. You may feel weak, but you are not worthless. You may feel tired, but you are not abandoned. You may feel overwhelmed, but you are not alone. You have a God who sustains you, strengthens you, and surrounds you. And with him, you will rise, you will endure, and you will overcome every single time. There are moments in life when you look around and it feels like everything is moving except you. Everyone else seems to be growing, elevating, succeeding, celebrating, while you're stuck in a season that feels slow, heavy, and unanswered. In those moments, it's easy to believe the lie that your story is finished, that your best days have passed, that your opportunities have dried up, that God has turned his attention somewhere else. But what you must understand at the deepest level is this: your story is not over, not even close. As long as God is writing it, the ending will be victory. No darkness can erase what God has destined. No delay can cancel what God has promised. No setback can undo what God has prepared. And no enemy can stop what God has already planned for your life. For your life. When life hits hard, when your heart gets heavy, when your plans fall apart, you start to think the pain is permanent. You start believing that this season defines you. You start thinking that because something went wrong, everything is wrong. But pain is not your identity. Hardship is not your destiny. Setbacks are not your conclusion. What you're going through is a chapter, not the whole book. God has a way of taking what was meant to destroy you and turning it into the very thing that builds you. He has a way of rewriting what the enemy tried to ruin. He has a way of bringing beauty out of brokenness, strength out of struggle, peace out of chaos, and purpose out of pain. Sometimes you look at your situation and think, there's no way this will work out. There's no way anything good can come from this. There's no way this can turn around. There's no way this can turn around. But you are looking at the middle of the story, not the ending. You are looking through human eyes, not the eyes of the one who created the universe. God sees what you can't see. He knows what you don't know. He understands what you're not yet ready to understand. While you're focusing on what went wrong, he's preparing what will go right. While you're worried about what you lost, he's already planning what you're going to gain. While you're looking at the closed door, he's already opening another one behind the scene. When something goes wrong, we assume the story is collapsing. But sometimes it's not collapsing, it's shifting. Sometimes God has to move things out of place to put the right things into place. Sometimes what feels like loss is actually replacement. Sometimes what feels like the end is actually transformation. You're not going backwards. You're being redirected. You're not being punished. You're being realigned. You're not being abandoned. You're being guided. And the reason it hurts so much is because the transition is necessary for the next chapter. But the enemy knows that if he can make you believe the chapter you're in is the final chapter, he can make you stop turning the page. He can make you settle in a place you were only meant to pass through. He can make you quit before you reach what God prepared. That's why he tries so hard to make your current situation look permanent. That's why he tries to break your hope, your confidence, your faith. Because he knows if you keep going, if you keep trusting, if you keep believing, you'll step into a future he cannot stop. You have to remember that God does not write tragedies for his children. He writes triumphs. He writes testimonies. He writes redemptions. Even the painful chapters become part of a beautiful whole. Think about the moments in your life that once felt unbearable, but now serve as proof of your strength. Think about the seasons you thought would destroy you, but now reflect your resilience. Think about the doors that closed that made room for better ones. Think about the people who left, who made space for people who truly belong. If God was faithful before, What makes you believe he won't be faithful now? Your story is still unfolding. Your purpose is still developing. Your blessing is still forming. Just because it's taking time does not mean it's denied. Just because you're waiting does not mean you're forgotten. God's timing is not punishment, it's preparation. The pace may feel slow, but growth takes time. Breakthrough takes time. Healing takes time. Elevation takes time. But when God's timing arrives, everything that felt stuck suddenly moves. Everything that felt heavy suddenly lifts. Everything that felt unclear suddenly makes sense. One shift from God can overturn years of struggle in a moment. You have to be patient with the process God is taking you through. Too often we want the blessing without the building, the victory without the valley, the promise without the preparation. But preparation is what strengthens you to handle what's coming. If God gave you everything you prayed for before you were ready, it would overwhelm you instead of bless you. He's not withholding to hurt you. He's shaping you so you don't lose what he's preparing to give you. There will also be moments where your story doesn't look like anyone else's. And that's because it's not supposed to. God didn't design you for comparison. He designed you for purpose. Your journey will not match theirs. Your timing will not match theirs. Your highs and lows will not mirror anyone else's. You are unique, and so is the path God created for you. Do not shrink your story because someone else reached their milestone before you. Do not devalue your progress because someone else looks further ahead. What God is doing in your life is specific, intentional, and personal. But the beautiful thing about God writing your story is that he doesn't waste anything. Every tear has significance. Every disappointment has meaning. Every setback has purpose. Every failure has wisdom. Every heartbreak shapes your compassion. Every delay builds your patience. Every struggle strengthens your character. God uses everything, even the things you wish never happened. Nothing is random. Nothing is meaningless. Nothing is wasted. You might be in a dark chapter right now, a chapter filled with confusion, fear, or heartbreak. A chapter that feels unfair. A chapter that doesn't align with the dreams you had. But darkness does not mean death. Darkness is often the setting for transformation. A seed grows in darkness before it reaches the light. A caterpillar transforms in darkness before it becomes a butterfly. And your story is going through the same kind of transformation. What you're calling a dead place might actually be a rebirth place. What you see as an ending might be preparation for a new beginning. You have to remind yourself daily, this is not the end. God is not finished. My story is still being written. Because when God writes a story, he writes with intention. He writes with grace. He writes with restoration. He writes with redemption. He writes with victory. The challenges may be real, but so is the God guiding you through them. The pain may be strong, but so is the purpose behind it. The obstacles may be heavy, but so is the strength he's putting inside you. And here's something you need to understand deeply. Your story doesn't become powerful when everything goes right. Your story becomes powerful when you rise despite everything that went wrong. When you refuse to let the pain define you. When you choose growth instead of bitterness. When you choose faith instead of fear. When you decide that no matter what happened, God is still greater. God is still working and God is still the author. Even when you mess up, the story isn't over. Even when you fall short, the story isn't over. Even when you take wrong turns, the story isn't over. God is a master at using broken pieces to create something beautiful. He doesn't discard you when you fail. He doesn't abandon you when you fall. His grace rewrites your mistakes. His mercy restores what you lost. His love lifts you back to your feet. He doesn't erase your past. He transforms it. And the ending he writes will always be better than anything you could have written for yourself. He's not just taking you to a destination. He's shaping who you become along the way. He's building wisdom. He's building strength. He's building faith. He's building endurance. He's building character. And he's doing this so that when you reach the place he's preparing, you'll be ready not just to receive it, but to handle it. One day you will look back and realize that every confusing moment, every painful chapter, every unexpected turn was necessary. You'll see how God connected every event, every delay, every heartbreak in ways you couldn't see before. You'll see how what felt like a detour was actually the exact route to your destiny. You'll see how every unanswered prayer turned into a blessing you didn't know you needed. You'll see how everything that tried to break you only built you. Your story is not over. not while you are still breathing, not while God is still moving, not while purpose still lives inside you. What's ahead is greater than what is behind. What God is preparing is bigger than what you lost. The chapter you're stepping into will redeem the chapters that wounded you. Victory is not just possible for you, it's promised. So don't close the book. Don't stop turning the pages. Don't let pain make you quit. Don't let fear make you retreat. God is still writing. And when he writes, the ending is always one thing, victorious. When you reach this point in your journey, when you've listened to every message, felt every word, and let every truth settle deep into your spirit, I want you to understand something powerful. You were never meant to live defeated. You were never designed to crumble under pressure. You were never created to give up halfway through your story. Everything you've gone through, every battle you fought, every silent night you endured, every tear you cried, it all led you to this moment right here, where you finally understand that the God who created the universe is the same God who created you. And he put greatness inside you long before the world tried to convince you otherwise. You're not an accident. You're not a mistake. You're not fragile. You're chosen. You're strengthened. You're equipped. And because God is greater, your life is not defined by the pain behind you, but the purpose ahead of you. Too many people stop right before their breakthrough. Too many people let one failure convince them to quit. Too many people let one setback become their identity. But you're not one of those people. If you were, you wouldn't still be here reading, listening, seeking, fighting, believing. You're still standing because God is still working. You're still breathing because God is not done with you. You're still pushing because you were built for more. It's time to stop negotiating with your fear. It's time to stop giving your doubts more attention than your faith. It's time to stop replaying the mistakes you made and start declaring the victory God promised. Your past does not have the authority to determine your future. Your failures don't get to write the final chapter. Your pain doesn't get to silence your purpose. God is greater than everything you've been through and everything you're afraid of. And because God is greater, you will rise. You spent too long believing the lies the world told you. Lies that said you're not enough. Lies that said you'll never change. Lies that said you're always going to struggle. Lies that said you don't deserve joy, love, success, or breakthrough. But the truth is this: God doesn't see you the way the world sees you. He doesn't judge you by your worst moments. He doesn't define you by your shortcomings. He doesn't abandon you when you fall. God looks at you and sees potential. He sees purpose. He sees a warrior who may bend but will never break. He sees someone worth fighting for, guiding, strengthening, and restoring. God sees who you really are, even when you forget. And his vision for you is bigger than anything you could ever imagine for yourself. This journey you're on, this fight, this climb, this struggle is not meaningless. It's shaping you. It's developing you. It's preparing you for what's coming. You may not understand everything right now, and that's okay. Trust isn't needed when you fully understand. Trust is needed when life is unclear, but God is still speaking, and he is speaking to you right now. He's saying, don't give up. Don't let go. Don't quit. What I have for you is greater than what you lost, greater than what you fear, greater than what you're battling. The enemy wants you exhausted. He wants you discouraged. He wants you confused, but God wants you powerful. God wants you confident. God wants you anchored in faith so deeply that no storm can move you. No voice can shake you, and no setback can derail you. You're closer than you think. You're stronger than you know. You're farther along than you give yourself credit for. And your victory is already written. I need you to understand something essential. God never wastes anything. Not your pain, not your tears, not your failures, not your disappointments. Every single experience, good or bad, is being used to build you into the person your destiny requires. You can't step into greatness with a fragile mindset. You can't walk into your calling with shaky self-worth. You can't rise to the next level carrying old wounds, old fears, old doubts. So God allows pressure, challenges, and difficulties because he knows pressure creates strength. Struggle builds character, and battles reveal what's inside you. Every trial you endured wasn't sent to destroy you. It was allowed to develop you. And look at you now, still alive, still learning, still becoming, still moving forward. That's not weakness. That's evidence of God's strength flowing through you. You're not the same person you used to be. You survived storms that should have broken you. You made it through seasons that felt impossible. You held on when others let go. You fought battles in silence that nobody knows about. And even though you didn't always feel strong, you were never alone. God was carrying you, lifting you, pushing you, molding you. And every moment brought you here to a place where you finally recognize that being defeated is not your destiny. Overcoming is your destiny. Rising is your destiny. Elevating is your destiny. Thriving is your destiny. Walking with God means walking in victory, even when the road gets rough. It means trusting Him when you don't see the outcome. It means believing even when you don't feel like believing. It means declaring victory with your voice even when your circumstances are trying to silence you. You may not realize it, but this is your turning point. This is the moment where the old you ends and the stronger you begins. This is where your fear loses its grip. This is where your faith rises higher than your frustration. This is where your confidence grows louder than your insecurity. God is doing something new in you, something bigger than the pain you endured, something stronger than the battles you fought, something more beautiful than the chapters behind you. The same God who lifted you before will lift you again. The same God who rescued you before will rescue you again. The same God who blessed you before will bless you again. He hasn't changed. His love hasn't changed. His power hasn't changed. Neither has His promise. It's time for you to walk differently, think differently, believe differently, talk differently, move differently. Not because life is suddenly perfect, but because you finally know who's in control. God is greater than your worries. God is greater than your fear. God is greater than your enemies. God is greater than every voice that told you you're not enough. And because He is greater, you can face tomorrow without fear. You can stand in the middle of the storm without shaking. And you can look at every challenge with confidence, knowing that victory is already yours. So as you leave this message, don't walk away the same. Walk away stronger. Walk away wiser. Walk away believing that your story is not ending in defeat, but in triumph. Walk away remembering that your life is bigger than your struggles and your future is brighter than your past. Walk away knowing deep in your spirit that God hasn't forgotten you, hasn't abandoned you, hasn't given up on you. He is still moving. He is still guiding. He is still lifting. He is still fighting for you in ways you can't even see. You're not defeated. You're not broken. You're not broken. You're not lost. You're becoming everything God intended you to be. So keep going. Keep fighting. Keep believing. Keep trusting. Keep rising. Your miracle is in motion. Your breakthrough is on the way. Your victory is closer than ever. And when that moment arrives, when God flips the chapter, when He opens the door, when He turns your pain into power, you'll look back and realize every tear, every struggle, every silent night was worth it because God is greater. And with Him, you can't lose. You were born to overcome. You were created to rise. And no matter what comes your way, you will not be defeated.